If you were starting all over and starting from scratch, what is the number one thing that you would do in order to start building your business? Hey, everybody, welcome back to the New Agent Jumpstart podcast. My name is Colt Callison, and I am here with my wife and co-host Ashton.
Hello.
Hello. So we are on episode number 6. And I'm a lot more excited about today's episode than what I was last week when we were talking about NAR and all the changes and everything.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sick of that subject.
I am so sick of that one too. But I mean, obviously, it's a hot topic because we had a lot of, for as small as the channel is right now, we've had a lot of views, interactions, some hate, some people saying this is awesome,
Yeah.
So it's all over the place. And ironically, it really made me double down on how much we don't know as an industry, right? As far as all the changes and everything. And even agents don't even know how we operate, how we get paid, everything like that, which is sad to me. But, hopefully if we keep talking about it and everything, then things will increase. But we're not talking about that today.
Nope.
We are talking about what we would do if we completely started over from scratch and everything. And just so you know, this channel, if you like what we have to say, we'd appreciate it if you'd help us out by hitting the like button, hitting subscribe. On this channel, you're going to get at least two long form videos every week. This podcast comes out on Fridays, and what we try to do is on Tuesdays, we're having either a training video or another interview with a successful agent, right? So like this next week, we got Caleb Clausen. He is great at digital marketing, and we're going to be talking all about digital marketing come Tuesday. So I can't wait to share that one. That's going to be awesome. So if you like what you see, please help support the channel by giving us a like and subscribe. This channel is all about helping brand new agents get started, right? Brand new agents get started, and even seasoned agents that haven't hit that 6-figure mark yet. So that's really the niche that we're going for. And we're just being real and opening up and telling you everything that we do. And so anything before we get started?
Nope. I'm ready to talk about something positive.
Let's talk about something positive. So if you were starting all over and starting from scratch, what is the number one thing that you would do in order to start building your business?
Well, I think the key to any successful real estate business is how effective your database is. So getting your database going would be your first step. And if you don't know what a database is, it's basically your potential clients. These are names, phone numbers, addresses of people that could potentially be a real estate sale for you. And it's about, just building your relationship with those people in your database.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't think we realize until we're doing deals how important the database is. And so knowing what I know now, I wish I had hammered everybody I knew, let them know who I was through my database before I even really got going, just so that people knew my name was out there.
Yeah, I mean, the database was something that was foreign to me because I worked on a team. And I mean, I guess I did have a database, but my database from the team was online leads that came in, and I was just to work those online leads and convert them into buyer consultation, buyer appointments. So other than that, though, I didn't really have a follow-up system or anything like that. It was literally just pounding the phones.
Well, and I think a lot of people have the misconception that a database has to be someone you've already worked with, whereas a database is someone that you are reaching out to regularly in hopes that that will turn into business. So yes, we want to keep in contact with all of our past clients, but at the same time, we need to always be putting people in there, whether we've helped them buy a house or not.
Absolutely.
And everyone has the ability to create a database because we all know people. It's just being willing to put ourselves out there and requesting the info needed to build that database.
Well, and I think that comes from a couple things where, for one, people don't want to, And this is why I worked expireds, withdrawals, or canceled now, right? Because I didn't want to bother the people that I knew. I didn't want to
Right.
sound salesy, right? And it wasn't until we followed Brian Buffini and his referral maker pro system that we got to understand a different way of how to go about doing a database. And it was all about building relationships. And I teach agents all the time that for an effective database or from an effective sales technique with your database, you should never mention real estate when you're having a phone conversation or a text conversation. Real estate should never come up. So when people are saying, "Oh, you need to ask for referrals," or you need to call your database and see who they know that's looking to buy or sell, that is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. Instead, you should be letting the marketing from the database, and we'll go into what we do personally, but you should let the marketing talk about how you're in real estate, so that when you have actual conversations with people, they should just be genuine conversations to build a relationship.
Well, I think the goal should always be people need to know you're in real estate. So obviously you make yourself known in other ways so you don't have to share that every time you talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Like I know that I share enough like on my personal Facebook page for people to understand, oh yeah, she sells homes for a living. So I don't every time I go to someone's Facebook page put, "Hey, are you in the market to buy or sell a home?" It's just interacting with them on Facebook, but when they click on my page, they will see that I'm in real estate, and by me having an actual real person conversation with them, they may feel comfortable to message me and say, "Hey, I'm actually looking to buy." And then that's how the relationship gets started on the real estate side of things.
Yeah. You act like a normal person, right? It's not salesy at all. So the very first thing that people should do if they don't have a database is start building a database. And there's 4 key pieces of information you need. You need their name, you need their phone number, you need their email, and you need their address. Yep. If you're going to work our system, which is based off the Millionaire Real Estate Agent's book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, it's called the 33 touch, right? And I get it. There's new research out there, 36 touch or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you do 33 touches, and we'll just kind of go through them here in a minute, but if you do 33 touches throughout the year, you're going to be leaps and bounds beyond what the typical agent's doing. And you're going to establish yourself top of mind, which is really the key of a database. You want to establish your position in somebody's mind that you're in real estate. And if you're not number 1, you better be number 2. Because if you're not number 1 or number 2, you're really out, right? They're not even going to call you up. So, because very rarely are people calling 3 or 4 separate agents and saying, "Hey, we want to interview all of you."
Right.
It's 1 or 2, right? And so, the very first thing you need to do is collect that data. And I learned from Joe Niego up in Chicago. He calls it the mayor campaign, right? And so a lot of people are like, "Well, I have their name and I got their phone number, but how do I get their email address or their address? How do I get that missing information?" Because you just need to build a spreadsheet. You can use Excel or you can use an actual CRM. We use Real Geeks or Brian Buffini's Referral Maker Pro. It doesn't matter where it is. It's just as long as you collect the information.
Well, and I think a lot of brokerages will offer a CRM with their brokerage, so utilize it.
Yeah, I mean, we had Command and KW. EXP has KV Core, that kind of stuff. So just about every big brokerage out there will offer a CRM. So just use what you have, especially if it's free, and you might as well get started with that. So let's say that, I make a list of my people, and I want to then gather the remaining missing pieces of information I have for each one of those people. I would simply just contact you, like if I have your phone number, and I'd be like, "Hey, Ashton, just wanted to let you know, I'm in real estate, and I know that you probably already have an agent. If you had somebody that was in your family that's looking to buy or sell a home, do you have an agent that you would be referring them to?" If the answer is yes, just, say, "Awesome, I'm glad you're taken care of," and then just remove them, right? Because they already have somebody. But if the answer is like, "Nah, I don't really have anybody specifically," say, great, I would love to earn the opportunity to be the person you'd recommend.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to do. I want to send out everybody that's in my network relevant and important information what's going on in the real estate market on a monthly basis. It's completely free. Would you mind if I add you to that list to send out that information? Most of the time they're going to say, no, that's cool. Great. What's the best email to send that to? Right? Great. What's the best address to send that to? So whatever you're missing, just what's the best to send that to, right? And that's how you're going to collect that information. And honestly, in the very beginning, this is going to take some time.
Yeah.
This is your full-time job now, is going and collecting all that information of what you're missing from that list. So, and then what you do with that list when you get it, you're going to mail out an introduction letter.
So the biggest thing when you're getting into real estate is the mindset of nobody knows who I am. So like you get into real estate and you're all gung-ho until it's time to actually start doing the business. And then you're like, how do I go get business? The biggest part is just letting people know who you are and what you're doing. So when I first got in, now I will say our situation was a little different because you were already in real estate. But I took our database and then several other people that I knew, and I created an introduction letter and basically let them know this is what I'm doing. And if you need anything, I'm here to help you. And then I continually followed up with those same people every single month.
Absolutely.
And that's the key. You can't just send one introduction letter and then expect people to contact you for business. That same list that you send the intro letter to, you need to be sending to every single month. Absolutely. And if you don't have all of their information, then that is who you need to get information from.
Yep. So just like what we talked about. And honestly, this introduction letter, let's say you were in my position where you've already been in for 4 years and you didn't contact anybody in your database. Well, then your introduction letter is now an apology letter, right?
Yeah.
And you just own it, right? You just, hey, I wanted to reach out. I know we've done business in the past. You might not remember who I am. I'm the agent that helped you buy or sell your home, whatever, right? I want to apologize. I was trained in a very poor manner on basically running my business transactionally. And I don't want to be that type of agent anymore. I want to be the person that you come to forever when it comes to anything that deals with your home, whether it's buying, selling, if you're doing renovations. I want to be the person you call for contractors or anything like that. So just own the situation and then be the person that they can come to with anything. So your introduction letter just becomes an apology letter.
And I think we could add on to that because some people, I mean, myself included, I didn't feel like I had any credibility to help anybody with real estate in my introduction letter because I hadn't sold anything yet.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to get in the mindset of I'm still doing this for a living, even though I've never actually done it yet. And so just getting past that and realizing, your first deal is going to come out of this some way. Just own it and be open and say, hey, I'm starting something new. Don't, act like you know more than you do. Just be humble about it and be like, hey, I would love to have your support. You can make it very inviting if you want to. It doesn't have to be super business. It just has to be like, it's almost like a newsletter. Make it personal, and tell them what your goals are. And I think a lot of people now want to support people in small business, and we're kind of in that realm. And I think people would be surprised at how much feedback they'll get just from that.
Well, yeah, these newsletters, they need to be personal, right? I would rather you talk about what's going on in your life and be more personable than I do real estate, right?
Well, it's so funny because when Bailey broke her arm, and you wrote about that, we had more feedback from Bailey breaking her arm than we did from the last month, which was about interest rates.
Yeah. Yeah. We've literally turned our kids into,
they're like our mascots, honestly.
Yeah, they're mascots, and people just love to know what's going on with them, right? And people follow you on Facebook and everything because you're posting about the kids all the time. And we wrote what happened. the kids were playing break the egg on the trampoline and they literally broke her arm and she had to have surgery. And so I remember the picture you took when you were traveling down to your grandma's house with your mom and everything. And she was in her little pink cast and acting like she was driving. You guys were at a truck stop or getting lunch or something. I don't know. But she had the biggest smile on her face. And I just threw that picture in there. Man, we had the biggest reaction.
Oh, yeah.
And we probably got more business from that newsletter than any other one that we've ever done. Because, it's not, hey, it's all about real estate. Well, people get sold or people are trying to be sold things every day.
Yeah.
Right? So you're automatically turned off by that.
Relatability is way more engaging than sales.
Yeah.
And so if you can become someone that's relatable, like on any level, like with me, I attract a lot of families because I talk about my kids, and kids don't faze me at a showing. Like, you're not going to bother me. And just being that relatable person is what's going to get people to want to talk to you. Absolutely.
So real quick, let's kind of go through how we work our database. And literally it's 33 touches in a year. And for those doing the math, it's like, oh, I'm not going to call my people every week and a half. And that's not really what we do, right? So this is a bare minimum. And if you do the bare minimum, you're going to be, again, leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. But every month we send out a newsletter, and it's by snail mail. It's literally, we write up a newsletter. And now
it's folded and stamped.
It's folded and stamped. And it goes out on the first of every month. And there's 12 months in a year, so that's 12, right? And then we do an email newsletter, basically. So it kind of piggybacks off the first one. We're not really talking a whole lot. We might mention what's going on in the market a little bit. And honestly, we don't care if it even gets opened, right? You're going to see the email pop up in your inbox, or at least the client will, and they're going to see your name. And that's all we really want. We can care less on if they open it, because only about 10 to 15% of people even open our emails anyway.
Yep.
But so it doesn't matter. But again, that's another touch each and every month. And again, that goes out on the 15th. So on the 1st of the month, we send out our newsletter by mail. On the 15th of the month, we send out our email blast, and it's just to the entire database. So right there's 24 touches, right? So then each quarter, there's 4 quarters in a year. So each quarter we are contacting our people. I used to say by telephone, like you had to call them. You have very good success with just texting and checking in.
Oh, yeah. I try to find something to text about, if at all possible.
Absolutely.
And I try to make it personal. And I don't want to bother them during their workday, but obviously if someone calls me, I'm going to answer.
Yeah. So once a quarter, so there's 4, we send out either a text or a phone call. And this is not a text like a text blast through the system. This is individual. We send out a text. And if you break it down, I mean, there's you're doing this once a quarter. So that's roughly 60 business days. Let's say you have 240 people in your database, right? Which we don't have a whole lot. That's about what our database is, 200, 250, somewhere in there. So that means if you divide out 240 over 60 business days, that's only 4 of these texts a day.
Yeah, and they're as simple as, hey, I was in your neck of the woods, thought about you guys, I hope you're doing great. I send stuff like that all the time.
Yep.
And more often than not, I get a response. And I guarantee you, if I had said, hey, just checking in on your house, how are things going with your house? So I try not to make it about real estate or house or anything. It's more of just thinking of you.
Yep.
And if you're friends with them on Facebook, utilize Facebook or whatever social media. Like, just engage with them as much as you can. Like, don't be overly creepy or anything. But, like, if their kid has something awesome happen to them, say, hey, that's great. I'm so happy for you guys. Like, little touches like that always leads back to you. And it looks very, it's not courteous that I'm looking for, but it just looks like you care.
Yeah. No, you're just being real again. And just a reminder, these calls or these text messages, your goal is to never mention real estate. Your goal is to only build the relationship.
I can honestly say I'm not good at asking for business. So any referral I get, I feel super special because I don't ask for it. It's just like, I hope I get to see you in your house down the road, like cultivate the relationship. And people always tell me, yeah, I'm going to send anybody I talk to, your way. And I love hearing that because I don't want to ask for it. Like, it makes me feel, I don't know. It's that salesy stuff I don't like. I like the relationship aspect.
But you're getting a lot of referrals, and again, you're not even asking for the business. So that just goes to show you that just being real with people and just being a human being and really getting to know them and caring less about real estate when you're having these conversations will get you so much further than if you just call them up and all you're doing, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell that I can help today, right?
Yeah.
So okay, after we get done, we got our monthly newsletter, that's 12. We got our monthly email, that's 12. So now we're up to 24. We got a quarterly call or text, so that's 4. So that's 28. Then once a quarter, we're going to send a handwritten note to everybody in our database. Same thing. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. It's like 2 to 4, maybe 5 handwritten notes a day. This might take you 30 minutes to do the text, the phone call, whatever, and the handwritten notes. I mean, this is lead generation, right? So when I was taught lead generation, it should be 8 to 11 every morning. This is part of lead generation, right?
And it's fun lead generation because now people don't get mail. And so the snail mail, that really triggers people to contact you because it makes them feel so seen that they get snail mail now.
And the best thing to do is have that phone conversation or text conversation, find out little Johnny just won his soccer game and everything, and then follow that conversation up with the handwritten note.
Yeah.
Basically saying, hey, it was so good connecting with you on Monday. So happy to hear little Johnny won in soccer. Can't wait to see what the rest of the season looks like. Right. And then we have little bifold, right? Little note cards. And on the top, we just, put our business card in there. We got these little stickers that say, oh, by the way, never too busy for your referrals. And if you want those stickers, you can get those from Brian Buffini and Referral Maker Pro. So we don't get anything for saying that. That's just what we use. And so we get these every month from him, right? And so you get that, you put your business card in there. You notice I never mentioned anything about real estate. My business card reminds them I'm in real estate. My newsletter reminded them I'm in real estate. We don't have to talk about real estate on any of our conversations.
I always put holler if you need me. I don't know why I put that. I have put that for a long time, and I didn't realize I was doing it until recently. A past client contacted me and said, take this as me hollering at you. And I'm like, what? And then he goes, you put that in your note cards and your text. Holler if you need me. Like in every single one of them. And I look back and I'm like, sure enough, it's my tagline.
Wow.
And he seriously just goes, this is me hollering at you. I need you.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, that's awesome. So basically, recap, we got our monthly newsletter. There's 12. Monthly email, there's 12. Text or phone conversations, there's 4. So now we're up to 28. Followed up by a quarterly handwritten note. That's 32. And then our favorite is a client party.
Yes. So we do what's called a pie party. And this is my favorite because there's no strings attached. It's just us giving back to our people who have allowed us to help them. And so around Thanksgiving, it's like 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving, we have a pie party, whether at our office. We've done it at our house before, but we've gotten big enough where we do it at our office now. But we basically give a time and a choice of 3 to 5 different pies. And then they come and they can either pick it up. And then if they're not able to pick it up, we deliver it to them. And those tend to get us at least 3 to 5 referrals pretty regularly.
Yeah. So, little helpful hint here. November's newsletter is the invitation to the pie party.
Yes. And we also, we start in October actually. Because we want to have a heads up of this is what we have coming up, and then November is reiterating, hey, you need to let us know what your pie choice is.
And then last year we got smart and we actually got vendors to help out.
Yes. So I know starting out funds, I mean, even if you're not starting out, everybody wants help with, paying for things. So make sure you are talking to title reps, lenders. I had a pest control guy help me. I mean, I have good vendor relationships, and they were more than happy to help me pay for this stuff. And all I had to do was put their information on it. And they even said I didn't have to do that, but I'm like, you're helping me, so I'm going to share
we're
your
going to
name.
advertise their name too.
Yeah, and so we just had these cool little stickers print out. We put them on the pies, and everybody's name was mentioned, and hopefully they got referrals like we did. But it's an easy way to make something that could be pretty pricey super affordable.
Absolutely. So typically we have the pie party the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving's always on Thursday. And then for those who didn't show up to get their pie that they RSVP'd for, Wednesday is pie delivery day.
Yeah.
And so it's literally, I'm just stopping, man. The car stays running. I'm going up, knocking on the door. Hey, here's your pie. Sorry we missed you yesterday. I'd love to stick around, but I got all these other pies. Happy Thanksgiving. So good to see you. And it's a quick conversation.
Well, and it's kind of cool because a lot of the people actually that didn't show up, I had like 7 that weren't able to come pick up their pies. And I would say 3/4 of them were sick. And so to be able to take them their pie, leave it on the step and be like, hope you feel better. But they didn't know I was coming to deliver their pie.
Yeah.
So they were super happy that they got that anyways.
Absolutely. So that is the number one thing that we would do if we were starting from scratch today, is we would definitely get our database put together, and then we would run a 33 touch program like that. And it's so simple. You just got to do it. You just got to put it together and everything.
The key with starting out is making sure you are getting as many touches as possible, because those touches will eventually turn into transactions. And a lot of people will sit in an office and wait for the phone to ring, and it's just not that type of a business. You have to be very proactive in the beginning.
Yep. And this is a great way for you not to be salesy, but to just be relational. So
Absolutely.
It's a perfect way to really get out and talk to people and be of value.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we talked about what I think is the most important thing, which is the database, what is another thing that you would do if you were starting from scratch today?
Social media is still probably my weakest area of my business, but I think with how things are going in this day and age, that you need to be very vocal on social media with your business, whether that be through messaging, videos, posting. You can have so many touches with your social media without even trying if you were very intentional about it.
Absolutely.
And I think that is kind of a segue into like advertising. So like you're going to want to advertise yourself, but eventually you're going to be advertising your listings, hopefully, your open houses. And that kind of leads into the other thing we do is open houses.
That would definitely be the number 2 thing for me. So I'm just learning social media. I mean, I'm 40 years old, and I feel like I'm some old grandpa, that's trying to figure all this out. But I never really focused on social media. I mean, my business account I can't tell you the last time I even posted, just being transparent and honest. But, that's why I'm excited for tomorrow when I'm going to interview with Caleb. And we're going to post it on Tuesday. That interview is because he is killing digital marketing and social media.
Yeah.
And so I want to find out what he's doing and everything, because he's been licensed now for 3 years. And in the last 12 months, he sold 45 homes for almost 12 million in volume.
Yeah.
And so he's obviously doing something right. And he told me, hey, Colt, my ideal is social media. I love digital marketing, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm stoked to interview him, and I can't wait to share that with everybody. But if I was to do everything from scratch, past my database, I would be doing an open house. And I'd be doing at least 2 of them a week, possibly 3. And people are going to sit there and say, well, how do I do that? They're only on Sundays. No, they're not.
Yeah.
No, I've done open houses on every day of the week. And I've done open houses over a lunch hour, on a Tuesday. And I've sold a home, from 11 to 1 over a lunch hour. And those open houses really work well if you have a lot of signage, right? You're going to get more traffic from signage on those off-hour open houses that aren't your typical Sunday 2 to 4. But they work really well, right?
Well, and you got to think a lot of new build neighborhoods are open throughout the week for you to walk through. And a lot of reason why people will go walk through is because of their signage.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get really intentional. And if you're brand new and you're just starting out, obviously you're not going to have a lot of listings to do that on. So one thing I did is I got with a mentor of mine that was in the office, Connie Butler, and she had 2 or 3 listings that she had live at the time. And I just did open houses on her listings, right? You did open houses for Chi, which was an agent in our office, and because he didn't want to do open houses, right? And so he was thrilled to have an agent that was good at what she did, was good at marketing the open house, made him look really good from the seller's standpoint because we were driving traffic to his property. So, I mean, he was able to say, yeah, I got my agent coming out, and doing an open house for you. But, you were able to do the open house, and you use a script like LP Mama to build up a buyer relationship and then ultimately try to set the appointment in the office.
I would set my open house up to where I get to talk to them at the end. I try not to be overbearing in the beginning. People want to come look at the house. I kind of base what I say off of their interest in the home.
Yep.
I mean, you get kind of an idea of where they're at just based on what they'll fill in on your sign-in sheet. And the funny thing is, if you talk to them enough and you're missing pieces of information, eventually you'll get good enough to be like, hey, I could send you this, and then you'll get their email address. Or do you prefer texting or a phone call? And they're like, oh, I like to text. And I'm like, I'll get your phone number. And there's just little things that you can learn to get all those information. But the main goal of an open house is to get information. So if you don't want to gather information, don't hold an open house, because that is the key reason to hold an open house.
I am just blown away by the amount of agents that we've walked in to their open house and never once asked.
Yeah, they had no idea who we were.
No idea who we were. Never asked us to sign in. Never asked us if we're even in the market to buy a home. They just sat there, right? And so it's like you literally just wasted 2, 3, probably 4 hours of your day for nothing, right?
Well, and something that I've learned is people may not always be looking right now, but you can still find a reason to contact them. So something I started doing is, hey, would you mind giving me your email or your phone number so that I can reach out to you requesting feedback for the seller? And by doing that, people love to give their opinion, so they're more than happy to give that information. But if I were to say, hey, will you leave me your email and your phone number so I can call you later? Like, that's not going to get you anything. Like, you need to give a reason for why you want the information, whether it be you want to offer your newsletter or whatever. You can make it be whatever you want, make it be your own, but make it be like it's for a purpose.
Yeah.
Not just to gather your information.
I learned a process through Joshua Smith on his mega open house process, and he doesn't even have a sign-in sheet. He has little like raffle tickets, right? Raffle entries. And I remember we used to buy, a 50-inch, 55-inch screen TV. You can pick it up at Walmart for what, $250?
I know, that used to be such a big deal, and now I'm like, man,
it's like $250, and you got a decent sized TV, right? And so, of course, we would take the TV out of the box because we don't want anybody running off with their box. But I would literally just put that TV box up on the table. I remember having a fish bowl, right, with raffle cards. And of course, they had the 4 key pieces of information: their name, their address, their phone number, and email, right? And at the very bottom of the raffle, it says, incomplete entries will not apply, basically something like that. And so they would walk in the open house. Most of the time I had a ton of signage, 25, 30 directionals out. And so people would laugh about that. But I would be like, hey, first thing, welcome to the open house. How'd you hear about it? They would mention the signage. I would laugh it off, be like, well, at least it's working. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. You don't need to sign in or anything, but I am raffling off this TV, and you just name the deal. It wasn't every week. It was typically once a month. I'm raffling this off at the end of the month. If you'd like to put yourself in the entry for that, just fill out the little raffle, throw it in the little fish tank, and you're good to go. 90% of the people that came through my open house would fill out all their information, and I never really asked for it, right?
And that's another thing you can utilize on social media as well, and use social media as the raffle ticket. Like, you can private message me this information if you want to be added to in case you can't come to the open house.
Yeah.
So it's a really good information grabber.
Yeah, and then what you're doing is you're taking all that information from your open house, from that raffle ticket or your sign-in sheet, And right there, you have everything you need to put them into your database for your 33 touch that we just talked about. So it's it's a circle, right?
Yeah.
And so all you got to do is just be really good at getting in front of people, offering value, and then being able to collect their information in a way that's not salesy, right? And oh, by the way, I was able to pick the winner of my raffle.
Yeah, it sounds really bad. But
It sounds really bad, but that's why you go to the mall and they're raffling off this, AT4 or not AT4. That's my truck. This off-road vehicle or this car or whatever. They've already picked the winner, right? That's just how it is. They're just collecting everybody else's information. So why not use what everybody else in this world does and just use that to collect the information? And then we pick the winner, and typically the winner is the person that I had the best conversation with and I think is most likely to use me as their agent, because I would much rather spend $250 and give a TV away to somebody that I might make $7 or $8 grand off of,
Right.
because they decide to buy a house. All right. So that would definitely be the second thing that I would do. Social media for me would probably be the third and everything. And then if I had to start from scratch over 11 years, one thing that I wish we really would have got intentional earlier on is investing. Right. So most real estate agents, we don't have 401k plans. We don't have, an employer funded retirement account or anything like that. So you really got to get intentional about building wealth to take care of you in the later years, because I personally think that agents that are selling homes late into their 60s, 70s, and even early 80s, they might tell you, oh, I just love doing this. They're full of shit. Because think about it for 1 second. If you had the choice and you had enough passive income to be financially free by the time you turn 60 from good decisions financially, and you didn't have to go sell real estate, would you still stay in real estate, or would you go enjoy your life, go travel, go be with your
it would definitely look different.
It would look a heck of a lot different.
Yeah.
I mean, you might stay in just to say, hey, I'm available for my very close people, but I ain't out there doing open houses on Sunday.
Right.
I'm not doing any of that, right?
Well, and I think that just comes from discipline, like understanding that your paychecks really matter because you don't know when the next one's going to happen, and learning to have consistent habits with those paychecks. And it also requires you to have a little discipline and be like, I need to make sure I have this many pending. I need to make a plan on how to achieve this so that I can consistently be giving back to myself and to my business.
Yeah.
Because so many times there's a roller coaster effect of, oh, I got a deal and this deal pays for 2 months of expenses, so I don't have to work for 2 months. False. You have to work every day that you can in order to keep from having that roller coaster effect.
Absolutely. So the two things that we highly suggest people invest in is passive real estate for like rentals and stuff like that. Something that's going to produce a cash flow at the end of the day. And then the other big thing is dividend paying stock that pays out on a monthly or quarterly basis. We love REITs, so real estate investment trust. And the ones that we invest in, they pay out anywhere between 12 to 20%. I mean, we just bought some yesterday as of this recording, and they were at 19.49%, is what they were paying out on a monthly basis, or I mean a yearly basis, but yeah, they were paying out each and every month. So, we don't buy those in hopes that stock will go up in value. If it does, fine. We buy the passive income
hold.
So we're going to hold that stock forever until the company goes out of business. And of course we diversify with, we have 3 or 4 different companies that are paying out those dividends, but those are our biggest that's not real estate. But they kind of are. They're invested in real estate. It's just a different type of real estate.
Right.
What I see agents failing to do early on is investing in their business.
Yeah.
Right. So they have a closing and then they go spend all that money and they don't reinvest into getting systems and tools that are going to help them with their business. Right. So what do you got to say on that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is figuring out what your niche is and making sure that you're investing in the right things for that niche. So spending money in a lot of different areas is going to give you less success instead of more success. So having targeted spending for what works best for you is super important. So if your best success comes from open houses, invest in signs, invest in giveaways, invest in marketing your open houses. If your niche is working with cold leads from a lead service, then invest in purchasing those leads. There's so many different kinds of ways to get leads, whether that be through a website or just any type of lead capture service through texting or anything like that. Like, actually pay attention to what your dollars are going to and making sure they're giving you a good amount of return. Don't just spend it for the sake of spending it, because I am very conservative with what I like to spend our money on as far as lead producing costs, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to spend money on a lead. If I can get something that I generated without help of something else, I am stoked, because that means I did all of that. But I do spend a good portion of a check every month to generate something that will give me a pretty good return.
Absolutely. I mean, case in point. So we're dropping Zillow, right? And so we tried Zillow for 6 months.
Yep.
We had to sign a 6-month contract with them. We just ran the report the other day. The amount of leads that we got, very few, right? From what we were told we would get. So weren't happy on that. But then we only have one transaction for the 6 months. I mean, we're right now at like almost 5 months in. So we got one more month to go. So who knows? But right now, if you look at the income that will come from that closing here, next week, compared to what we spent, our rate of return is in the negative.
Right.
So, of course, we're not going to hold that lead source because it's not doing what we need it to do, right? So we'll be dropping that one. But at the same time, when I first got started on my own and I was wanting to go after listings, my bread and butter was expireds and canceleds and, things like that. So I ran a list from the MLS of expireds, and then I purged that list to see if any of those homes sold, since they last expired. And the ones that were still off the market and hadn't sold, I would then run that list through like whitepages.com, which was free, right? And then those people that I was able to get, their names and everything. Oh, by the way, I ran it through the tax records to get their names. Everything that I did was free, right? And then I was able to sell a couple of those expired properties and, canceled properties, and I started making money. And then I started buying things like a data service like Vulcan 7, right? Who takes all that information from all the canceled and expireds and for sale by owners and everything, and they put it in a database every morning at 7:00. And then it's automatically in there. So all I got to do is log in. And then I got to where I was doing something like Mojo Dialer, which, is a 3-line dialer. So it's calling 3 people at the same time to really get my phone calls more efficient, right? Well, those cost money. And I spend probably $400 to $500 a month on those 2 things. But the rate of return now, because I'm able to sell more homes and everything, it's paying for itself. Right.
Learning the process and being disciplined with your spending and being willing to do the legwork is going to benefit you so much in the long run, because I see a lot of people try to find something that will do the work for them. And that it may make it easier in some ways, but at the end of the day, you got to put your work into it somewhere. And so if you're willing to put your work into calling leads that you're purchasing, purchase the leads. But if you're not going to call those leads, don't waste your money on the leads.
Absolutely.
There's so many things you can put your money into. Like, I know one of the agents that we work with, she doesn't like to make phone calls at all, and she made a ton of money just sending mailers, like just neighborhood mailing, and that was just her thing. And she only picked up the phone when people called her. And I just think that if you pick your niche and you invest in that, you're going to have a lot more of return than if you spread it out and try several different things at once.
And I even think she even got her database or data for the mailers off the MLS through Realist. So she would just, map out where she wanted, and then Realist would have all that information for her, and then she would export it and then create mailing labels.
I mean, I know that you will spend a day, probably at least just prepping for that, but you do a mailer once a month. Like, who cares if you have to spend that long to prep to mail it out? Like, that's a good investment if you do it consistently.
And it's lead generation.
Yes.
Right? So the most important thing you can do in your business is lead generation. So if you're going to actually do the work, then of course, go do those things. And especially if you're paying for it, then you need to be doing it. But don't get so caught up on, well, this took me all day to just do this one mailing. No, that one day was good effort into actually lead generating for your business to acquire new business. Right. So, and again, on those kind of things, you might not get business right away, but you're building a pipeline for the future, right? You're nurturing those leads that come in, because you might get somebody that says, hey, I got your mailer. I'm looking to sell probably next year. I kind of like what you're doing. I've checked you out, whatever. You never know, right? I've called around neighborhoods. I've used Vulcan 7 data. I did a neighborhood search for circle prospecting, and I remember just making the simple calls of, hey, my name's Colt. I'm a local realtor, and the reason for my call is right now there's just not a whole lot of homes on the market. So I was calling to see if you've ever thought about selling your home, right? And then most of the time you're going to get a no, right? Because circle prospecting, maybe 1 out of 100 are thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so the follow-up question is, well, if you could actually get more money than what you thought your home was worth, would you at least consider it? Right? And so then if they say, well, yeah, I'd at least consider it. Great. If you did sell your home, where are you looking to move to? Right? And just start that conversation. If people are like, nope, wouldn't even consider it. I love where I'm at. Great. Get off the phone, and it's a simple little 20-second call. Yeah. Right? You can go through a lot of phone calls with that kind of service. So like a system like Vulcan 7 has been amazing for me, especially from a circle prospecting aspect. Expireds, canceled for sell by owners. Great service, right? So I definitely invest in something like that. And again, we're not getting a dime for even mention them. That's just what we do. We just want to keep it real here. So,
well, I think something to say as we're winding down is a lot of agents get discouraged if they don't have something within the first or second month. That is super common. And I'm in a lot of real estate groups where people have hit their third or fourth month and have nothing. And my question to those when they're saying, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do? My question is, well, what are you doing to touch anybody, like to reach out to anybody? And are you following up with them after you reach out to them? Because the key is the follow-up. If you contact them once, you might as well just not contact them at all if you're not going to follow up.
Absolutely.
So all of these things are ways that you can start incorporating following up, and that eventually is going to bring you business.
This business, it's not complicated.
No, we overcomplicate it. Most of the time.
So hopefully just in this short podcast, you've walked away with 5 or 6 gold nuggets that I'm like, man, I could just do that. And I've been in real estate for 4 or 5 years, right? I mean, this is, when you break it down, that is the basics of this business, and it works. It just works.
If you have a cell phone, you can do real estate.
Yeah, and I like what you said earlier, where you don't have to do a whole lot. I mean, focus on 2 or 3 things, right? I mean, you look at our business, we focus on 2 or 3 things, and we do those really well.
Yeah.
We hit our database every month, right? We're on point with that. We get a lot of referrals now because of that, which I'm highly grateful for, because then we don't have to worry about where our business comes from next, right? Do expires and canceled calls with Vulcan 7, Mojo Dialer, all that kind of stuff. So hot and heavy on listing side. And then, every now and then we do open houses. We do fewer open houses now than what we used to do, but open houses are still key for us.
Well, and I think we've earned time to take off from open houses because we did all the nitty-gritty open houses starting out. Like, that's all I did every weekend for a long time. And now it's more about Sunday's my rest time, or if I have a showing, I'll do that. But I fully support open houses now. Even so, I need to do them because they're a great way to get business.
So basically, to recap real quick, really, if you're starting out, you're brand new to this business, or if you're a seasoned agent and you're like, man, I got to get my act together, dial in on your database.
Yep.
Go back, re-listen to how we do that, the 33 touch. It's very simple, but you need to go and get your people, right?
Yep.
You need to get your list. Build your list. That's the number one thing. And, again, the question's like, well, where do I put my list? How do I, what do I use? I don't care if you use an Excel spreadsheet. I really don't, right? You just need to be able to track what your conversations are like and how often you're following up with your people, right? And checking in. So go do your database. The second thing is look into what it would take to get really good at open houses. Look at signage, directionals, marketing, stuff like that. Do you want to go get a TV or something that you can raffle off for a giveaway? Get really intentional being the best agent at doing open houses. Don't be your typical agent that's just going to post in the MLS an open house, right? So it goes out and syndicates all the websites. And then you can put open house signs out, 5 or 6 of them around the neighborhood, and then hope to God that somebody shows up. There's a reason why the typical open house only gets 2 to 3 groups in, and we get typically 30 to 40 groups through an open house when we do it properly, right? So go do that. Looking back, social media, follow some great people. We're not the best ones to follow when it comes to social media.
No, I'm still learning a lot when it comes to social media.
Yep, and hopefully we get more content to bring to the audience when it comes to social media. For one, I want to learn it, right? Because video is in, right? And so social media. Also, look at investing early on in your career. Looking back over 11 years now, gosh, I wish we would have started investing a lot earlier than what we did.
Yeah.
Right? So you can only control what you can control. So there's no looking back. We can only go forward from here. So we've decided to buckle down on that and get a lot better at that. But, that's pretty much it when it comes to what we would do differently, right? Anything else you got to finish this out?
No, I think this covers a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Get to work.
All right. So hopefully you learned something there. And, man, this is a lot better than last week by far. So I really enjoy these. I could go on forever on this kind of stuff, but this is really the basics. Come back next Friday because we're going to talk about all the common mistakes that we see newer agents and what we've done.
Well, I'm going to say what I've done because I'm not going to call out anybody without calling out myself first.
Absolutely. We've made plenty of mistakes in our career. So come back. It's all about common mistakes in real estate so that you can avoid those. And hope that you've enjoyed this. If you like what we had to say, please support the channel. Give that like button a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you come back each and every week. So until next week, we'll see you guys.
See ya.